Welcome to my presentation on the potential positive and negative psychological effects of anabolic steroids for exercise and sports psychology. So first of that, what are steroids and how do they work? So anabolic steroids are a synthetic hormone that resembles testosterone and promotes muscle growth. Often used or clinically used for some or to treat some serious illnesses, and arguably used in a lot, if not all, professional or elite sports. Often you'll hear athletes and professionals say that you can't compete at a professional level or an elite level without the use of some sort of steroid or performance enhancing drug. How do they work on a physical level? So the physical effects of anabolic steroids, they simply increase muscle size. With this increased muscle size comes increased ATP production, meaning the more ATP we have, the more ATP the body can produce, the more energy we have, meaning the harder the body can work for longer periods of time. It also enables increased protein from the muscle cells to aid recovery. So these are all the positive effects. On the downside, you get such things as increased acne growth, testicular shrinkage, site injection pain. So if you were to inject it into your shoulder, thigh, or buttocks, whichever it may be, there will be pain in that specific area, localized to that area, as well as fluid retention, so a bubbly, bloated look. So they're the physical adaptations of anabolic steroids. Next, what we're all here for is the psychological effects. So while using anabolic steroids, users have described an increase in self-confidence and a feeling of invincibility. So a massive high, or not so much high, but a massive feeling of ability to do anything, hence that invincibility feeling, as well as that agitated and aggressive in small situations. A lot of these, so they're more your positive effects with that increased self-confidence and that feeling of invincibility. Once users have stopped taking their anabolic steroids, a feeling of withdrawal, which can lead to depression, and a feeling, once this happens, they get back on it and then feel the need to increase their dosage. A further look into the effects and what these effects may lead to is on this slide. So like we said, perceived increase of self-confidence, the feeling of invincibility. When these aren't developed and continue, these feelings of confidence and the feeling of being able to do anything, when these aren't continually increased, there is a feeling of disorder, which can lead to dependence on the drug itself, then leading to major depressive disorders. Users may also suffer from paranoid jealousy, extreme irritability, and impaired judgment stemming from feelings of invincibility, so reckless acts and dangerous behaviour. Looking more into that self-confidence, a study done called Confidence by Injection had ran through in-depth interviews with users, stemming, and like I said before, once that usage stopped, that self-confidence soon decreased to the point where their self-confidence was lower post-cycle than it was pre-cycle. So they've gone all the way up to the top, they've come down and gone even further down, so past that kind of baseline level that they tested at to begin with. This is just a little bit more on that self-confidence which is experienced through the usage of steroids. So these are ex-wrestlers and former American footballers saying things like, it gave me the mental edge that I would not have gotten any other way. It is more one of the American footballers actually felt there is more a psychological addiction than a physical addiction, and another one said, I felt I could do anything I put my mind to, and 9 times out of 10 I did, even stating that he misses that feeling. So you can see there is some sort of dependence, even though he's stopped, he's still looking at, he's still thinking back, I miss that feeling, I miss that feeling of thinking I can do anything, and like I said, 9 times out of 10 he was able to achieve those things that he kind of put his mind to. So looking at dependency a little bit more, once usage stops, those depressed moods set in, that feeling of inadequacy when strength gains don't go up, when they can't achieve what they formerly could while using, they do get a bit edgy. So to avoid this, users didn't necessarily cycle off, but stayed on to affect these psychological side effects. Users then would increase dosages to recapture the initial adaptations that they experienced first off when using anabolic steroids. When this didn't work, they would simply stack and increase their dosages to dangerous amounts, all in that quest to achieve the initial results that they experienced originally from taking the drug. So the psychological effects of users' confidence and natural athletes' confidence, studies have found that the user's confidence would roller coaster. It'd be up and down, it'd be all over the place, and when they'd come off, it would simply decrease dramatically. Whereas a natural athlete, they might have these ups and downs, but a lot milder, and they don't get those massive crashes because obviously they're not coming off cycles or whatnot. Another 3 separate studies of 3 males in their early 20s, 3 separate males in their early 20s, all found the same and similar post-cycle symptoms, showing that it's not just specific to one study or one person. These are widely expected when it's coming off anabolic steroids. So why do anabolic steroids affect psychological health? They've looked at studies with rats as far as place preference, and rats have chosen to stay in those areas where there was steroids available from drips compared to the other area of the enclosure where it wasn't. So they'd all kind of migrate to that one area based on the fact that there was something there was some substance there that gave them a bit of a feeling. In saying that, anabolic steroids don't necessarily trigger or simply don't trigger dopamine, and like most illicit drugs do, where you do get that initial high straight away. But from the reading I've done and the research, it doesn't directly trigger dopamine, but indirectly acts on one's psychological health. So you might not inject steroids and get that dopamine hit or serotonin hit, but the effects that you experience from the drug itself then dial back to that feeling of self-confidence and whatnot. So that's where that dopamine comes in. Same again, once that supply stops, those dopamine levels come down because you aren't achieving what you want to achieve, because you're not getting there. Dopamine comes down, the whole lot shuts down. In conclusion, anabolic steroids, super powerful, super effective, but in saying that, very unstable and very unsafe. The usage of anabolic steroid usage and psychological health cannot be maintained over long periods of time. And if someone does experiment and use steroids, it does seem to be an endless cycle where there isn't an end in sight until they do completely break that cycle. So that's my presentation on the the potential positive and negative effects on anabolic steroids. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Hope that helps. Thank you for your time. Cheers.